What's up, guys? So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about an idea that I think it's very useful to me. It's something that Jiu-Jitsu's given me, but it's also a idea and a lesson that come up over and over again in different forms of philosophy and stuff that I read. And so hopefully this is useful to you guys as you're listening to it. All right, big thanks to our sponsors, Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is a premium CBD company that's out there. They make an amazing product, a product that's third-party tested, so you know exactly what you're getting into, which is really important in an unregulated market where basically anybody can put whatever they want to in CBD products because, again, there's no regulation on it. So they've actually done some studies and found that about 70% of CBD that was on the market was actually mislabeled. Basically there was either too much of something or not enough of stuff. And so again, this is not a situation with Charlotte's Web. The last couple days, one of the reasons why, if you're watching the video form of this, Eugene and I are I'm not in studio with him, is for whatever reason, I don't know what's been going on. I've been having a little bit of trouble with my sleep. And so I'm going to enlist they've got that new sleep product, which basically it's CBD with valerian root and all this other stuff that's in it. And so I'm going to enlist that tonight, and we're going to give this sucker a try. It's funny. I was talking to one of the students at the gym, Ben, who just when we did our there was a big sale a couple months ago.
Yeah.
He stocked up. He just bought a bunch of stuff, man. He's like, yeah. So he's like, I was trying to go to sleep and I was really wore out. My arms were hurting, whatever. Cause this morning I saw him in the gym lifting. I was like, how you feeling? He's like, I feel better now.
Yeah.
And I was asking what happened. And he said, well, I got home from training. I was beat up. My arms were sore. I was exhausted. So I rubbed myself down with a CBD balm. I took a couple CBD gummies, took a tincture, basically just took everything. And he said, he's like, I slept great and I'm ready to get some training in. So I think I'm going to probably be joining Ben with that tonight. And again, that's something that's always been kind of helpful. Anytime I go on trips and stuff like that, whenever I feel like I really need to kind of conk myself out a little bit, I take an extra dose of CBD. And again, it seems to help me. So again, if you guys would like to check out any of their products, from their tinctures to their gummies to their balms that they have, you can check them out by going to charlottesweb.com/Jiu-Jitsu. Also, thanks to Matt at Epic Roll. We recently concluded, I don't know when you guys will be listening to this, but we recently concluded the limited edition rash guard order that we did with them. And first off, I want to say thank you guys for helping make it successful. It's awesome. And I hope you guys that get those, or if you have them already, I hope you friggin' love them. Because again, I love this stuff, and that's why we promote it here on the podcast. And again, with that said, Matt has a lot of other really amazing stuff on his website. So if you want to get some new gear, some new rash guards, some new shorts, apparel, whatever you want, whatever you're looking to related to jiu-jitsu, you can check it out by going to epicrollbjj.com. Promo code on that one is Jiu-Jitsu. Save 15% on the order. Again, if you guys are ever watching any of my videos on the YouTube channel, if you ever see a picture of me and I'm wearing some jiu-jitsu related shirt that you don't know where it's from, it's probably from his website. I guarantee you can probably go check his website, and that's probably where it came from. Because I only really wear 3 shirts. I wear jiu-jitsu shirts, I wear gym-related shirts. So sometimes people will give me a shirt at their gym, and I'll wear their shirt on the videos as kind of a thank you. And then I wear Matt's shirts because I like them. They look good, and I think they're cool. So you can check out it at epicrollbjj.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is the premier men's grooming products. It used to be below the belt, but I think it's just they're beginning to encompass everything. But their core offers are still below the belt grooming, which again, originally, when they became a sponsor, I was like, why is this a thing? I was like, I just didn't understand. I'm being honest with you. I'm one of these people where I'm very stubborn. I'm very resistant to stuff sometimes. And then I try stuff and I'm like, this is really nice. And so when they sent their stuff, they offered us a chance to hey, work out some sort of sponsorship deal. And I was like, let me try your stuff first and we'll see. And then I tried their stuff and I was like, it's actually really nice. Like their trimmer's really convenient and handy. It's small, it's waterproof. It's got this little light that can find the little hairs and you can get them. And again, you can use it anywhere. I use my friggin' trimmer from my beard down to below my belt. So again, it's a good trimmer. And also, all of their products smell amazing. I remember when I got back from COVID, my smell was all funky. I remember getting back to being able to smell the different scents of stuff that they had. And again, everything smells really good. So if you're looking for some men's grooming products, either for yourself, for the man in your life, whether you're looking for beard trimmers, razors, colognes, any of that stuff. You can check it out by going to manscaped.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20. And with that, you'll save 20% on the order and you'll get free shipping. So it's a really good deal on some amazing men's grooming products. So check it out. Also, guys, if you guys want to join us in the Patreon, we're doing something new, and we've been talking about it for a bit. We're doing so just to let you guys know how it works. Basically, our Patreon works like this. We take interviews and little side episodes and stuff like that with the guests that have been on the podcast, or with just Eugene and me, or sometimes it's question and answer type stuff. That goes in the back end of the Patreon. So you get access to that. Okay. What we're also doing now, and this is the only place you can get this, by the way, is Eugene and I are doing a green room about once a month right now, where basically what you can do is you can join in with me and Eugene before we start the podcast. We're just kind of hanging out. This is something that Eugene and I do anyway. We usually get to the podcast room a little bit before we hang out and chat about whatever's going on. And you guys get a chance to do that with us. You get a chance to just hang out with us and talk. If you have a question, you can answer it. Or you can just be around Eugene and I kind of hanging out. It's a way for you to sort of virtually hang out with me and Eugene in kind of a low-key setting. And so we do that for a little bit, and then we start the podcast. And again, you can get access to that green room by simply selecting the second tier on the Patreon website, and you'll get all the other stuff that I was talking about before, all the episodes and everything, but you'll also get the green room edition. And then last but not least, guys, if you guys think it would be a good idea to have a game plan for your jiu-jitsu style, and you think it would be a good idea to understand how to drill those techniques and implement them into your game, then check out my 2 free ebooks that I give away on my website at jujitsu.net/join, JOIN. When you go to that website, you go in there, you just put in your email address and your name. You'll get added to my Chew Crew email list, which basically is an email newsletter that I do usually once a day. And then on top of that, you'll get 2 free ebooks sent to you. If you don't want to receive the emails, you can take the 2 ebooks and you can run. Or you can buckle in. And again, I send out an email usually once a day, somewhere in the neighborhood, usually in the later evening, Eastern Standard Time. And a lot of times, if you are on that list, you will see sort of future episodes and stuff like that. You'll see like the little nugget of ideas that come out there. So if you like this episode that we're getting ready to get into, you'll like to join the email list. And again, you can do that by going to jujitsu.net/join. Again, that is if you are a reader, if you like to read stuff. I like to read. So again, that's it. So that said, guys, let's jump into the podcast and let's talk about how to become a master of your disasters. What's up, guys? So there are probably a million lessons jiu-jitsu's taught me over the years, but one of the more important ones that I've gained through jiu-jitsu, that if you're into Stoic philosophy like me too, and you read like Epictetus or Seneca and these different people, they talk about this idea all the time. But I think there really is something to experiencing it, and a jiu-jitsu is a place where I experience this. But this idea, this lesson, I think that's really important is it's not just about what happens to you, but more importantly, how you respond, right? I think that's really, really important. Because, if let's say, for instance, in jiu-jitsu, if someone hits you with a slick armbar inside like full guard, what matters is how you respond. If you get really frustrated and upset about it, and you just get frustrated and you're like, oh, I sucked, all this kind of stuff, it's probably not going to be the best thing. But if you start to think about how can I prevent this next time, right? 2 different ways of responding to the same situation. One's incredibly useful and resourceful. The other one's not. And in the business, here's a fun one, a fun story many of you guys probably don't know because I don't talk about my business stuff all that much, at least not yet. But back in 2010, when basically I was fresh into this jiu-jitsu business stuff full time, me and my business partner at the time, we were putting together this marketing campaign that involved giving out like these DVDs showcasing our gym to hundreds and hundreds of people and thousands of people, of UFC fans outside of this at the local venue here in our town. Basically, there was a UFC fight coming up. We were really struggling at the time business-wise. The money was not good, and we just weren't. We had a lot of problems. We didn't know what we were doing, but we understood that we needed to get more people into the gym and we needed to get more leads. So we were like, all right, we're gonna come up with this marketing campaign. So we had one of our students made this really cool highlight video of the gym. And we had some DVDs made, and one of our students who was in college at the time, he was in a fraternity, and he got some of the sorority women that he knew to super attractive women passing out these DVDs at the UFC fight. Now, there were a bunch of different problems in the way that the highlight video was put together that made it really not very good as far as a marketing tool. But I think probably one of the biggest problems, and we didn't really think about this, was the timing of when we gave out these DVDs. So, for instance, when we got to the venue, like my buddy and I, my business partner at the time, we get to the venue and we see this army of really attractive women with a shirt that says free DVD. They're just like passing out these discs to everyone. And I remember there was this one woman who was well endowed, and she had like a line. She had a line of 20 dudes just waiting to get this DVD. They had no idea what they were getting. They're just like, yeah, give me the DVD. This chick's hot. Men are really simple, aren't we?
Yeah.
And they didn't even know it was on the disc, right? So they just got it, and then they probably looked at it and said, well, this doesn't match up. This is, I was going to a hot woman, and now I'm getting this like disc about a fighting gym. But the biggest issue, I think, was that you're getting ready to give these charged up fans a disc that you want them to take home and watch. And they're getting ready to go into a venue and begin drinking and watching fights for like 4 or 5 hours. Bad timing. We should have given it to them when they were leaving or something, because it's like, wasn't a bad, I doubt very many of those discs ever made it home. And so we spent thousands of dollars. I mean, when we were strapped to the gills doing this thing, and we made absolutely no money off of it. Like not a single person came into the gym. I mean, we were expecting them to. We were expecting Monday it was just going to be like a stampede, and then Monday rolls around and nobody. And I mean, months afterwards, not one single person ever came into that gym and said, I watched that DVD and I was like, man, I got to train there. Not a single person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this could have been a really bad thing, and we could have got discouraged and said, oh man, this marketing stuff's not for us, whatever, the business stuff just isn't for us. But we licked our wounds, we figured out what we did wrong, and we improved over time. And then a more of a jiu-jitsu related example that recently was with one of my students, Jeff. So to give you a picture of who Jeff is, right? I've been with Jeff in his place of work, and Jeff is very polite. I mean, he's a genuinely good guy. He's polite anyway, but in his workplace, he's like straight, like, polite dude to the max. And then when you get him into the gym, he's not this way anymore. We'll talk about why, but he was like this guy where he would be rowdy. I mean, when you would do double legs, he's trying to double leg you through the wall. Mm-hmm. I remember sparring with Jeff years ago when we were doing MMA stuff. And I remember getting to the point where like we're swinging for the fences, and I'm just trying to fight because I don't want to get my head knocked off. And, afterwards he was like, man, and we're basically at one point, we're basically firm. We've had our feet firmly planted into the ground, and we're just swinging for each other, banging each other in the skulls. And afterwards that was awesome. My jaw's all sore. I'm like, awesome for who? And he's just a rowdy guy. And his jiu-jitsu style was very aggressive, very like explosive. And he ended up getting a rib injury. And the rib injury basically took away his ability to create any sort of torque with his ribs. And you really had to be very mindful of laying your weight on them. And, again, most people get an injury and they're gone. They're just, I can't train full speed, so I'm just not going to train at all. Right. Well, Jeff, maybe this is a good or a bad thing. I don't know what you want to consider, but Jeff was like, I'm going to train. And so Jeff would come in and he'd have his ribs wrapped up. It really doesn't do a whole lot to help, but it does bring awareness and reminds him to sort of keep his ribs tight, protect them. And, we would all take it a little bit easier on Jeff to make sure he didn't hurt himself. Or allow us to accidentally hurt him. And it was interesting because he went through this process of several months where he could not train at his normal maximum pace, and he couldn't utilize that explosiveness that he was used to using all the time. Well, Jeff ends up, we were talking this morning, and Jeff said, I think it's probably the best thing that ever happened to my jiu-jitsu, because what happened was he ended up becoming far more technical because of it, because he couldn't rely on his explosive power. He had to adapt. And he had to figure out much more technical and more finesse-based ways to accomplish the same things. And then now that he's coming back to normal and his ribs pretty much healed up, now he's got his speed and his explosion back, but now he's got a more technical game on top of it, and it's a beautiful thing. And so, again, I think that's a really great example of someone responding to a less than desirable circumstance in a really good way. And if for you guys, I know a lot of you guys like to read. A good book to read on something like this is many of you guys have read it, A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. If it's a book that you have seen before and you haven't read, or it's like one of those ones, because I saw it years ago and I was like, I'll get around to it. It's a really good book. You should really check it out. The second half of the book is not, I wouldn't say is nearly as impactful as the first. The first half is incredibly powerful. Like I remember at one point, like I was actually crying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I mean, he's basically talking about going into a concentration camp, and his wife is like, his wife's gone. He never sees his wife again. And I was like, then I'm looking over at the couch next to me. I was reading it on the couch, and I look over, and my fiance she's sleeping, and I'm looking at her. I'm like, man, what if like some dude just came and snatched us up and I never saw her again? I was like, that's really hard to deal with. Sure. And so it's a crazy, crazy thing. And again, the way that he responded to that situation that was awful is incredibly powerful. And another quote, maybe to just an idea to chew on, is from Ralph Waldo Emerson in his essay on fate. And there's a part of it where he says that a man must thank his defects. And he goes on to say, because his defects pay him revenues on the other side. And I think that a lot of times we can become complacent when things are good. Like we've all done this. Everybody, including myself, we become a little complacent when things are good. And then all of a sudden something bad happens and it shakes us up a little bit. And in a lot of cases, at least from my experience, when I look back at the sort of the conditions that created a really positive outcome, a lot of times those conditions weren't really positive at all. Right. So for instance, my drive to work hard and try to make a good living for myself and really learn some skills and do all this stuff. And to have that drive came from the fact that I grew up dirt poor and I didn't want to be dirt poor anymore. Right. I grew up sleeping in a reclining chair in a 1-bedroom apartment with my mom and 2 sisters. And I had a bucket of toys and that was it. Like, it wasn't an ideal experience. It wasn't terrible, by United States standards. Of course, I was poor. Rest of the world standards, I was doing all right. Yeah. It was not the rest of the world, but in some parts of the world, I was doing all right. But I didn't want that. And, when I think about in jiu-jitsu, a lot of times my biggest jumps in skill typically come when I get caught in something, or when someone like basically brings this error in my game to my face and says, man, here you go. You got a defect in your game. You've got a area of your game that's bad. You need to fix this. And just like Jeff, seemingly a defect, his rib got injured, right? Or it's a problem. That became a blessing. And then, you look at, again, back when I was talking about earlier, my 2010 initial sort of tipping my feet into the marketing stuff. It was an utter failure, but I executed on something and I learned a lot from it. And because of that, it made me hungry to improve later on. And so again, to sort of wrap this idea up for you, it's not just about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. That's truly important. And again, I think that's wisdom that's been said in a myriad of different ways by a ton of different people. But I really think that it's really, really important wisdom, because so many people have said it. And every time I think about my own experience, it's pretty much rang true. And so, yeah, that's the idea to chew on today, guys.
That's why I like tournaments. Tournaments are good at exposing your defects, because you may think it's interesting, because when you're at the gym, you have your training partner, like Jeff and I, for example, we train together all the time, like almost like he's one of the guys I train the most with, I would say, on a consistent basis, because I see him, every week, at least I see him once. And one of those things, like doing, certain things may work or not work, but you kind of know typically how a role with one of your training partners will go. When you compete, even if you're not a competitor and it's not your main MO, but like going in and losing in a certain way, or being exposed on the mats in a certain way, like, man, this person did. I remember, and this was when I was a purple belt, this guy did a berimbolo. I'd never seen one before. And I was like, what is happening? Like, nobody did berimbolos.
Was that in North Carolina?
Yeah, I was in Charlotte. He beat me on 2 points. Like, and I was like, what just happened? I hadn't really, nobody really did that at the gym. And so for me, I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to learn, how to maintain my base, because I was like in half guard. So that was something I went back and just even losing, tournaments or competitions. I think they're very helpful. And the other thing that I think why tournaments are helpful in that capacity is because they're impactful. Like they're meaningful. We want to win, right? We want to stand on the podium and we want to have a good performance. So when that doesn't happen and somebody that completely doesn't know you, it exposes you a little bit, I think it's very much a wake-up call. And I think that's where sometimes at the gym you may not get that because people know each other's games typically, and you know how to modify your game.
Well, and if you remember too at North Carolina, I remember that one because you lost that match and then you got up and with a little bit of coaxing, you dusted yourself off and you went out there and competed again. And then the open, you freaking killed it. You did great.
Yeah, I did pretty well. I did. It was fun.
You took second?
Yeah, I got second in my division and second open.
Yeah, in second, and I think your open division was far more impressive. I mean, you submitted several dudes, and you got into the finals against the guy, and the guy was tough, and he was very big and strong, and
he's big.
you didn't have the game for him, but like looking when you went back to it, both you and Chris on that same day, you both kind of like got second in your division, and you were kind of bummed out, and then you guys went to the open, and you guys had you killed it. And again, I think that was another example too of you responded well. You didn't get because I mean, how many people get so down in the dumps? I used to be terrible about this. If I lost a match, I would literally sulk. I would just sulk for hours like a big baby, instead of being
I think that some sulking is okay. It's just you have to have a certain limit on that, right? Like some of it, because that's how you react to emotionally or even physically to something that didn't go your way that's meaningful to you.
But yeah, I agree. But I think if you're gonna sulk after the battle's over.
Sure.
So you still have more battles to be fought.
Yeah.
On those days, go get some more, and then afterwards you can sulk later because. This has happened to me before too, where I've had a less than perfect performance in my division, and then I go to the open division, or I'll compete in my the next division, which might let's say if I did gi first and I didn't do very well, then I'll just dust myself off and go to no gi, and in those second divisions, I end up doing so much better. Now if I would have sulked and allowed myself to just be too bummed out about it, I wouldn't have performed well. I would have done it at all. But because it's okay, there's more things to go with. All right, let's just shake this off. Let's get out there and let's keep competing because I still have more matches to fight.
Yeah, I think that I've had a couple experiences recently, watching some of the guys newer to jiu-jitsu that are in our gym. They're very talented, and I see their progression in certain areas of the game where I'm I've been kind of avoiding or not focusing on the progression, like my leg locks. I've gotten to where I can play my game, but also when I'm with training partners that are really leg lock heavy, I'm learning basically how to defend and stay away, and it doesn't allow me to engage. So I'm starting to play the game, whether it's with some of the guys in the morning classes that are actually been playing a lot more leg locks than I have. I'm starting to put myself in that situation and work. And I think that's been really helpful because I'm starting to embrace the leg lock game. At first, I was I just want to know how to not engage, just to avoid it altogether and try to. But now I'm learning I want to learn how to play that game. And that's where, I think you have to be there. I think you can't be stuck in your ways, especially as a black belt. I think that's the belt where you kind of almost free your mind a little bit because you already know you've accomplished or you're decent at jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Right.
So most people, I'm not gonna say all, but most people that have received a black belt have a decent skill set and they can probably teach the basics and they have some techniques they're pretty good at. But again, that allows you to start to explore other avenues because you already have a solid base. And so I think for me, I'm starting to embrace that leg lock game. And it's making me actually enjoy jiu-jitsu a little bit more. Because I think if you play the same game, it can get a little stale. And so learning something new and oh man, I'm learning this new technique and then being able to start implementing it and engage in different ways in jiu-jitsu for me has made it a little more fun. It's kind of made jiu-jitsu a little more fresh again. And I'm kind of excited to learn techniques.
Well, and you're taking the approach which I think is the smart way to do it, because not everybody takes that approach. For instance, when leg locks were kind of experiencing this resurgence, I don't want to say resurgence, but they were maybe their ascension in jiu-jitsu, because they
Yeah.
never were popular, because resurgence sort of make it sound like it's popular at some point. But when jiu-jitsu, where leg locks were started becoming more popular, and they're sort of rising up in the sport and in grappling, and it was becoming a big thing, everyone was faced with a choice. Either you ignore this thing, or you start to invest some time in there. And there were a lot of really, really good black belts, very skilled guys, people with big names, who would openly discredit leg locks, talk down upon them, and would not do them, would not invest in them, and they suffered for it. So again, they were faced with the same opportunities that all of us were, the same opportunity, right? We were all faced with the same challenge of, oh snaps, these leg locks are here to stay, and some dudes are really good with them. And if you don't know them, you're gonna get smashed. So you either need to learn them, or you have no chance. And a lot of guys chose not to learn them, and they got left behind, at least for a period of time, because of it.
And that's the beautiful thing about being a black belt, is that you have the capacity to learn. Like, you have the ability, like, I feel like I can learn actually really well from instructionals. I have to get out there and obviously, but I can get the concepts down. I know in my head what I need to do, and it's kind of working it out physically, connecting the dots. But I think if you're an advanced belt, you can definitely use instructionals to your advantage, because I think you can pick up because the techniques all I think your brain and your body's kind of geared to learn in this like realm of jiu-jitsu, right? Like, movements, certain patterns, and then you're just kind of adding some new little movements into those patterns you already have.
Right. Well, and again, this is if you decide to actually take that challenge on, because again, black belt's it's an interesting place. Black belt can be this freeing thing, because you have nothing else to, like, there's not really another belt to really strive for anymore. You're already at that point. So now you can just play. You can just play around, and you can experiment. But also, black belt can be this place where you feel like you have to perform to a certain level because you're a black belt now, and you need to do a certain thing a certain way. And so if you start playing around with things that you're not as good with, then you're not going to perform to the level that maybe you feel like you should be. And that could be a problem, because again, just like anything else, when you just going back to it, sometimes the best stuff that we have is our biggest problem. So for like a lot of black belts a number of years ago, right, it was like, okay, you guys are really good with all these upper body submissions, blah, 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 so forth. Well, leg locks show up. And then again, they're faced with the same challenges that we all are. And if you don't decide to jump into this area that you obviously know you have a glaring hole in, then what you're doing is you're allowing these seemingly good things that you're really good with, these particular positions, to become a hindrance, because you don't want to let go of them. And we all deal with this all the time, where we have to sometimes let go of the stuff that we love the most, that we're the best with. And this is not just for jiu-jitsu, it's for a lot of things, in order to make room for what we actually need to do to grow in the right way. I mean, here's an example. Going back to the business stuff, and this stuff's fresh in my mind just because I'm preparing a course right now for people. And when I was my favorite thing in the world, I mean, seriously, is teaching a jiu-jitsu class. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I liked being in the gym.
Fun.
I like training. I mean, dude, someone was like asking me, this was recently, they were like, Chewy, like, it was on my Instagram question things that I do sometimes on Friday. They're like, Chewy, how do you stay motivated to like teach jiu-jitsu classes without burning you out? I'm like, bro, how's it going to burn me out? I just love doing this. Like, teaching the classes, that's like dessert. Like, I that's just like my favorite. It's like my favorite thing to do. It's like the best part of my job. And if I ever forget that, I can just remember working in a cubicle and doing stuff that I didn't like doing. Like, no complaints from me. But there's a lot of stuff that I do that nobody ever sees. That they'll never see, right? Because it's stuff that I have to do on the back end to work on. And with that stuff, the thing about that stuff is that it's stuff that needs to be done. I have to do it in order for the business to grow. Because, like, for instance, we've got employees with like health coverage and stuff like that. And
that's so cool.
It's cool. It's cool as hell.
Awesome.
And I want to make sure that continues. And in order for that to continue, I've got to do other things that I don't even like doing that much in order to make sure that the good stuff continues. And if I was to allow my favorite thing of teaching jiu-jitsu classes, which I think I'm pretty damn good at, to not let go of them at least a little bit, like, and let other people teach and cover things, then that would become a hindrance. And I had trouble with that back in 2017. It literally was like, I felt like I was like letting someone like take care of my baby or something,
Yeah.
like I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I know I have to in order to grow in the way that we need to grow. And so again, that's an example of where, I was really weak in this area of like delegating tasks to other people and then
Yeah.
letting other people help me. And that's somewhere where I personally had to grow. Whereas on the other side, I didn't need to grow in as far as how to teach someone how to do a rear naked choke. You know?
I think teaching, as far as like somebody asking you, like not getting burned down on teaching, I think teaching is one of those things I can compare to like giving someone a gift, right?
Mhm.
Do you know the feeling you get like when you give somebody a present and they like love it, and
Oh, yeah.
you see that, like how joyous, like, like my kids give them a present, they're like so pumped up about it. And like to me, it's like I show someone a technique that I feel like I like doing. It's been effective for me. And then watching them learn it, watching the light bulbs go off, and then watching them hit it in a roll. And you're like, that's awesome. And even getting messages about it, like, or somebody like being able to hit, like maybe in the 6 a.m. class, we do a technique that not a lot of people see, and they hit it in like the 6
feels
o'clock
good.
p.m. class. And they're like, hey, dude, I hit the move. It was awesome. And it's like, that's all. It's because you give them something, right? There's like such a special feeling of like learning something and then being able to kind of put it into use. That's one of the things. That's one of the addictive things about jiu-jitsu is there's like, you can test it right away, right? Like it's not theoretical. It's like, we're on the mats. I'm going to see if I can get you in this leg lock or if I can get you in this position. And if it works, awesome. And it's just, it's fun to, and then that starts that snowball effect. You get kind of excited, like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. But going back to one thing you had talked about, working on positions maybe where you're not good at, or being a black belt. So somebody with a cool mindset was PJ. We have PJ Barch on the podcast. He's a great wrestler. And he's like, man, you know what I would do? I'd play off my back. I'd force myself to get to my back, and I would work from there and get good from there. And you look at some of the best grapplers out there. They're people that can do a lot of, they're pretty much good everywhere. They've got obviously their great positions where they're going to take the match, but if they get put in a bad spot, they're good. Like Gordon Ryan, he's great on top. He's great off his
very versatile.
He's great butterfly guard. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's good for everywhere, right? He's got obviously positions like if he takes your back, like you're probably not getting out. It's over. But like he's good everywhere, and that's so cool to see. So a lot of these grapplers that are really high level, and if you want to be high level, you have to continue to kind of understand that there's imperfections in your game. And the ego, that things get that, we talk about the ego all the time, but like as the belts get, harder to achieve, the ego gets a little bigger.
The
target gets a little bigger, right? Well, I can't let this blue belt submit me, right? I can't let him catch me. Anything can happen. Anybody can win the lottery.
See, my ego got less and less of a problem the higher my belt got.
Yeah.
Because
that's great, man.
I mean, it would still show up, and it still shows up even to this day. It's not like it, it's not like one day you get it and you're like, okay, I am done with this ego thing. Like it's still there,
for sure,
and it's gonna peek its head out from time to time, and you're gonna have to deal with it because you'll be rolling one day and you'll be trying to take it easy, and then all of a sudden this young whippersnapper comes in and they start trying to put it on you, and they are, and then you have to like remind yourself, oh, I'm taking it easy today. That's right. Remember? So if they pass my guard, it's okay. And you got to make sure that you don't start ramping up your own gears sometimes. That's happened to me before, like where I'm rolling, I'm trying to take it easy because I had a rough day or something. And my body's tired, but I'm like, I'm just going to move around a little bit. And one of the young guys is like, all right, I'm going to roll with Chewy. And he comes after me. And, I almost like get like, oh, I can't let this guy pass my guard or whatever. And then I have to remind myself, this is what I'm here doing today. I'm here just kind of rolling. I'm not here trying to win it all day. I'm just moving. And, but yeah, I had less of a problem with it the higher I went, because even though it is very important, it's an important thing, it becomes less significant. It's like, you think of like a relationship. Like imagine like when you remember, do you remember your first like big breakup where a girl broke up with you?
Yeah. I mean, I've had some.
Well, I mean,
sure.
I remember my
the
first woman that I was with when she broke up with me. It was awful, right? I was like, I'm terrible. I'm what I'm like 17 or 18, and it's terrible. It's awful, whatever, and I'm all upset about it. As I got older, like they'd break up with me, or I'd break up with them, or it just didn't work out, whatever. Okay, cool. take it easy. No big deal. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It is what it is. We just didn't work out. And so like with the belts, as you get more of them, you're like, okay, look, this is a big deal. This belt is a big deal. But I've gone through this promotion process before. You know what I mean? I kind of know what's going to happen. People get the people get the blue belt blues, and it's like this big thing because they put so much focus on this belt, and then they reach the goal, and they're like, they lose steam. But then if you continue on afterwards, when you get there's no such thing as purple belt or brown belt blues, because at that point you're like, I've already gotten a belt. I know how this works. I get a belt, nothing really changes. I just keep going.
You're already invested. Like I think at purple belt, like you got to think of a hill, right? Blue belt, you're still going up the hill. Purple belt, you're right there teetering. And I think if you spend a little time at purple belt, you start to go down that hill where it's a lot easier to continue on.
Maybe.
That's just what I see. That's why I think the blue belt, like I think blue belt, you're still really at the beginning of your journey. And in a lot of ways, some people get a blue belt very early on, like you got one, 6 months or
6 months.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Super early. But then some people are like 2 years in, so think about where you are 2 years in of training. Like you're already
2 years as a purple belt.
There you go, man. You're already,
which was not a good thing, by the way.
Well, again, it made you look at your defects, right? Look at, your coach, Kyle, that like is like, oh, triangles. I'm gonna put you in a triangle every day, Chewy. You better get the hell out, but man, you never got put in another triangle, did you?
I got a couple.
Well, you know what I mean. There's a lot less.
But my defensive percentage went up.
It probably did. Yes. So like, that's the thing. Like we all do it. We all have these positions. We have these training partners that expose us a little bit. I've got a couple I know that expose me, and I like to train with them because it's not always easy. I don't always feel up for it. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, this guy's going to work like hell to pass my guard. It's going to be exhausting, but that's the stuff that kind of hardens you a little bit. But yeah, I do like being humbled from time to time. It helps recharge. It kind of sets a fire under me a little bit. I definitely like, I like being the hammer, but once you're the nail every now and again, regardless.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why I like bringing out guys like JT and Muhammad and different people so that they can basically kick my butt, and then it makes me want to improve afterwards because I get excited about that. Yeah,
but it's fun, like watching those rolls. I always enjoy watching those rolls with you and JT, or you and Muhammad was the most recent one. That was fun because he's like a giant specimen of muscle and just like athleticism. You're like, what?
And I am not.
You're pretty you have athleticism towards jiu-jitsu. I think your athleticism is geared towards, like, you're probably made your body style, like
you just called me unathletic, but it's like you just gave me a compliment wrapped in poop. You should have just been like, yeah, you're right, Chewy.
Do you want to be?
No, you're athletic, for jiu-jitsu kind of.
Listen, bro. Listen to this.
That's like saying, like,
are you built to be a soccer player? Are you built to be a basketball player? No, you're built to grapple. You have
I think some of that
in the body,
but I think some of that's happened because I've grappled so long. I think my body's become like thicker, like, because even my torso from all the grabbing and stuff, and my back is ridiculous. Like out of all, like, so for instance, like I have to send those pictures to my nutrition coach every Friday, and my back is so disproportionately large to every other muscle group in my body. It's ridiculous. Like, because my legs are probably like my low quads are probably the weakest area of my body. Hamstrings are fine, upper quads are fine, but then you run into my back, and my damn lats are so big because all I do is pull. Like, I just pull stuff all day long, and I just think about that all the time because, like, that's one of the areas where, like, someone will say, man, you got nice arms, or you got nice this, whatever. I've had people come up to me like in random places and be like, bro, like, your friggin' lats like are huge. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I didn't know it. But because your body adapts to doing
it morphs. I think of your body like morphing, like when you're on the mats. I haven't seen you play basketball or anything like that, but that's not what you do.
It's really bad.
But there you go. Like, your body, and a lot of people's bodies are like, you watch them just like walk around. Like, when you walk around, you look a little rigid, a little stiff, but then you get on the mats and you're like this little spring, right? Like, you're jumping over guards and stuff. So that's one of those things where, like, I think your body kind of morphs into into a jujitsu.
Yeah.
I think about like
Well,
some
more
leg lockers.
anything. Well, I mean, the body's so adaptive. I mean, it literally will adapt to whatever like sort of
It
stimulus
needs.
you give it. I
Yeah.
mean, whether you sit in a chair all day long and round your back, or you're doing whatever, it will adapt to whatever you throw it.
Dude, look at some of these people with like terrible posture, right? Like they
Mhm.
maybe fit really rounded.
Yeah, yeah.
Those people, although they are prone to some, I feel like they can lead to some problems and neck back and stuff. But man, they're really good at balling up, getting
Yeah.
under you, and it's almost like a little top, right? They can just like
Mhm.
spin right underneath, and they're so good at like rounding up, curling up, and getting under to your legs. You look at like a Joe Bays, right?
Mhm.
Rounded, kind of shorter, rounded guy, and he's like doesn't look terribly athletic, but man, he can get under you like
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh man.
So that's interesting to think about how like some of these body types that probably would not be very very good for like certain sports.
Right.
But
Uh,
then you have like the actual athletes like Muhammad, right?
yeah.
Like that dude would probably be good at whatever he wanted to do.
Me and JT were joking about that. We were having dinner, and we were like, "Dude, Muhammad needs to be like he got in the wrong sport. He should have got into like the NFL or something. I mean, like it just seems like he would belong in like a sport like that."
Yeah. But
Um,
dude, JT's an athlete too. I mean, the dude
yeah,
is like
but JT's an athlete, but JT's also like 160,
yeah.
165. So he, it's like it's different. It's like, yeah, he's an athlete, but he's not like, he's not going to go like play basketball or football or something like that. He's too small. Whereas Muhammad's like, that's a dude who could like go play like NFL or something, like
Yeah, I
in
mean,
one of
he's
those sports.
yeah, it's but you see where like I don't know, I think maybe people at jiu-jitsu that have a build for jiu-jitsu may not be good at other things
Oh, for
versus somebody
sure.
that's got like a body type that's more applicable
Oh,
to
you got
various.
look at all the sort of the nerdy dudes that do jujitsu
Right.
that like have that you can look at and you see them. They don't have any explosive power for in their body that which would lend itself to other sports. But those little guys, I mean, they can get up under you and take your back and choke you.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do about it.
They're gumby and they're
Um,
flexible.
Yeah, like a lot of things that like aren't necessarily going to help you in your ability to run super, super fast or whatever, help them because of the fact they're super relaxed and flexible and mobile.
Mhm.
And so yeah, you see a lot of that stuff. And I mean, then there's some body types like Mikey Musumeci where he's basically got like a swimmer body. He's
Yeah,
got
he's got short legs.
short legs, tiny legs, and this massive upper body frame. So it's like was it Michael Phelps? He had like short legs in proportion to
Long
his height.
torso and long arms.
Right, long torso. And so there's actually a really good book. I've mentioned it before, but in case you guys haven't read, it's called the Sports Gene.
Okay.
And basically, the Sports Gene is a book about like people in sports, and then what makes certain people better at certain sports. It kind of basically says, the 10,000 hour rule is great and all,
Right.
but sometimes people are simply built for these sports. And like one interesting example was in basketball. So basketball, it's not just about height; it's arm length.
Yep.
And then the vertical jump. So arm length in relation to their height, and then how tall their vertical is. They've got a great vertical and long old arms. They have a good chance about being good in basketball if they have enough height on them.
Yeah, that's cool. It's interesting to think about that. And like jiu-jitsu, I think is cool in the aspect that there's a lot of body types that are gonna work. And you just got to figure out which style
Mhm.
of jiu-jitsu that, yeah, you might not if you got short legs. I don't think I see Mikey hitting a bunch of triangles. I'm sure he can,
Sure.
but he's not gonna be going for triangles. Like he's getting into legs now and he's getting underneath you and
Yep.
I wonder what's his like. I know he's got that Mikey lock, but I wonder what like some of his go-to moves are. I don't recall. Do you
Mikey, like, I've watched some of his matches. I couldn't tell you offhand, like what his best locks are. He's not someone I watch. Like I watch, like, if he has a big match coming up, I'll watch it. But he's not someone that I will study, like all the time.
Yeah.
Not because I don't like him or anything, because it's fine. It's because like stylistically,
Right.
like I'm not a small guy like that. So
Well,
I try
size.
like
How many takedowns do you? I mean, those guys pull guard. The small dudes pull guard all the time.
a lot of them do, and a lot of them do some other stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff they do is very similar, but whenever I'm studying, I want to study people that like I have a greater possible chance of finding someone that's going to be able to give me something for my own game.
Mhm.
Not that small people can't do that, because I've learned lots of cool stuff from small people,
For sure.
but I have a greater chance of finding something that's going to work for my game if I'm studying, by watching people that have similar body types to me.
Right.
And for me, if I'm watching jiu-jitsu, if I'm just studying it, I'm studying it for a reason. I'm not just watching it casually. I'm like, I need to like pull something out of this. For if it's a big tournament, I'm just watching casually. But if like
Sure.
I'm sitting in my office and I'm like, all right, I'm doing my hour of jiu-jitsu study right now, I'm studying matches and roles specifically to find people to give me something that I can try tomorrow in the gym, or I can get a better idea of something that might work for my game, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think you always have to keep studying too. I think that's key. Like I think with jiu-jitsu, you always keep learning. Like we're going back to, getting complacent. I think sometimes that will jumpstart your desire to learn too,
Mhm.
and get back to something new, or like for me it has. Like I'm, definitely going through the leg lock stuff now and trying to implement that. And I think it's been helpful in kind of recharging my batteries a little bit, and like my desire to learn some new things, and not just kind of, it's easy to go back to like, oh, I'm good at these positions, I can take people here. But when you see people that start a little later than you, and then you see how good they get, how quickly, and you're like, oh, I got to catch up in some aspect. Yeah, it's fun. We've got some dudes at the gym that are doing that, that are really ascending quickly. So it's fun to watch. It makes you kind of take notice and take ownership of your own kind of desire to learn and get better.
All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that podcast today with us. Hopefully there's something in that is interesting to you, whether it's my bumbling failures as an early business owner, or maybe some of the books have interested you and you can check those out. Whatever it is, I hope there's something that's useful to you in that episode. Again, thanks to our sponsors, charlottesweb.com/jiu-jitsu. And again, you can pick up any of their amazing CBD products. Again, their stuff it's incredible. It's great stuff when it comes to CBD. I've tried lots of different CBD companies. They were my favorite by far, and that's the reason why they're on this podcast. This is my way of simply sharing stuff that I like with you. Just like I just shared some books with you that I liked, I'm sharing products that I like. That's also the case with Epic Roll. EpicRollBJJ.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu to save 15% on the order. And again, you can get yourself some really cool Jiu-Jitsu gear, apparel, that's high quality and it looks good, again. And as I was saying at the beginning, in case you missed that first chunk at the beginning of the episode, if you ever watch any of my videos, you ever see pictures of me and I'm wearing a cool Jiu-Jitsu shirt with a J there, if you don't know where it's from, probably from Matt's website at epicrollbjj.com, because basically it's his stuff, my gym stuff, or sometimes I'll wear gyms, people that I visited their gym shirts as kind of just a way to say thank you. And again, you can check that stuff out. Also, thanks to Manscaped for helping us make the podcast possible. You can check out all their men's grooming products by going to manscaped.com, and the promo code is Jiu-Jitsu20, and you'll save 20% on the order, and you get free shipping on anything from their razors, their shavers, their trimmers, their colognes, their sprays, everything and all by going to manscaped.com. And again, if you guys want to join us in the Patreon, right now you have access, you have a choice of getting access to all the behind the scenes we've done with previous guests over the years, which is hundreds of episodes, and the side episodes that Eugene and I've done. So again, if you like the podcast, it'll be more of that kind of content, right? So if you're like an avid listener to the podcast, you'll probably like the Patreon. You can dig into some stuff and have like tons and tons of hours of that kind of stuff to dig into. And then on top of that, we're doing a green room starting once a month. And basically what the green room is before Eugene and I get ready to get the podcast started, we kind of hang out and just shoot the I don't like cussing that much on the podcast. Shoot the poo. I don't like cussing that much. I try not to cuss too much.
Shoot the stuff.
Shoot the wind. We like to conversate in a very casual and low-key manner with one another about what might be going on in life. And if you guys would like to join us in that live format where we're just kind of hanging out and talking, whether you want to throw in something to the conversation or not, you can do that by going to patreon.com/jiu-jitsu. And there are two tiers. You get one tier, which is just the podcast extras. And the second one includes all the podcast extras plus the green room option. So you can check that out. And again, guys, if you want to join my Chew Crew email list, it's free. I give you 2 free ebooks related to jiu-jitsu for joining. One is on game planning for jiu-jitsu competitions, and the other one is for drilling. You can get that by going to jujitsu.net/join, JOIN. And again, if you guys like the subjects that we talk about, if you like getting the book recommendations and all that stuff, you will get a lot of those on my email list by going to jujitsu.net/join, JOIN. Had a little bit of a stutter there with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
Speaking is hard.
Yeah. I used to have a terrible stutter when I was younger.
Yeah. How'd you overcome it?
I had to think about speaking more into what's the word? Intentionally. So I used to say a lot and I remember in one of my
those are filler words.
Well, they're filler words. I mean, my filler word now is like right. You'll hear me say right a lot. Like that's my filler word. But when I was younger, I would say over and over again. And I remember it was so bad my junior year of high school when people were writing in our yearbook. I remember several people would write, it's good to see you. I hope you have a good year. Like they would write out, and it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people.
Oh, jeez.
I know, right? So they were harsh on me. But again, that said, I responded appropriately by being very intentional about the way that I spoke. And I eradicated my stutter for the most part. And I also sharpened up my speaking so that I didn't have such a strong, like, slack-jawed accent that you would notice it was undeniably from Kentucky.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Man, yeah, it was all great, man. We had a good old podcast today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And, I hope you guys are doing well. And, y'all, I'm just going to get on off here now and going to do some reading because I'm just going to try to relax because I'm starting to turn into like some Southern gentleman.
I don't know where this is going.
I'm exhausted and I just need a nice glass of iced tea.
Okay. All right.
Get it. Where I'm going.
Go ride your horse.
Yeah. Well, I am trying to ride the horse.
You are?
We're actually trying to, I'm going to get a second horse and, because I want to go like trail riding and stuff with Jess.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to find another quarter horse that's a little bit, or a quarter horse or like maybe a halflinger that's just a little bit bigger than Smiley, because Smiley's he's not tiny, but he would still be considered kind of a small horse for me to ride on.
Yeah, he looks small.
I
have no idea. He's massive. I don't know anything about horses.
Yeah, but he's not a massive horse. He's around like 900 pounds and he's like 14 and some change. And as far as hands go, as his height. So I'm looking for a quarter horse that's just a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, and take him out on some trail rides and stuff. I mean, he would do fine with it, but that's just his horse anyway. And so I want to get another one so that we can ride around and also get him a friend to hang out with because he's used to being in the pasture with a bunch of other horses.
Yeah,
so we want to make sure we get.
How do they interact? Are they pretty like? They're not territorial. They're kind of like.
Oh, they can be. I mean, they can. Yeah. They're herd animals and they have a pecking order. Like it's kind of weird. Like when you put them like so when Smiley was brought into over at her aunt's house, there was very much this guy's the outsider. Like he's the new guy, and so it took time for the other horses to warm up to him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's really interesting how they work, But yeah, they're very much they're herd animals, and so they work together. But they're cool.
Yeah, I wonder like how do the horses like communicate? Like, I mean, what's like is like body language? I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, think about this. I mean, think about how much is communicated.
I don't know anything about horses really.
Well, I mean, let's think about humans. Think
Yeah.
about how much is communicated non-verbally. I mean, like for instance, the other day, I remember like Trish, the woman, for you guys that don't know, she's the woman that does like our front desk stuff at the gym. She's awesome. She does great work. Well, she was walking back to the gym one time I was lifting, and she just kind of gave me this look that expressed through just her visual look that, man, it's a long day and that guy up there is driving me nuts. So you get what I'm saying? So like so much is expressed non-verbally, and even the way that you present yourself to someone and the way that you like look at them. Yeah, the posture, everything, dude. There's so much that is expressed non-verbally. And so when you understand that, and then you look at horses and you're like, or animals in general, you realize that they can express so much just by being there in front of each other in a particular way. And then obviously they have their knickers and their noises that they make with one another. But it's cool. Yeah, it's not something that I would have ever thought that I would have gotten into. And then now I'm like, this is kind of fun. I want to kind of do this. I'm looking to try to find a truck and a horse trailer now too. So
that's right. That's where I was going. I was like, you need stuff for that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it sucks at too, because this is like the worst year to try to buy a truck.
Oh yeah.
They're so expensive right now.
It is. But eventually, Chewy, you'll have a truck.
I'll get another one. I'll get one. It's not that big of a deal. It's a percentage increase. It's not like it's like quadrupled in price or anything like that. It's like with gas prices. Gas will be, 2 something, and then all of a sudden it jumps up like a quarter, and everybody. you know, they want to like everybody say, oh, we got to cancel the family vacation. It's like, no, you don't. It's not that much money. You know, I mean, it's a lot of money over time, but for like one big trip, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know,
it's cool. So like, yeah, you're like delving into this new thing, like learning. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole, like, obviously people ride.
Oh yeah.
Equestrian, all this stuff, and they jump over stuff. I mean, even just like controlling a horse. I think I've ridden a horse once. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it goes deep. It goes deep, bro. There's a lot of stuff you can do. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to set up in the yard. We're going to set up a couple of different pens that we can train them in, and work with them. So this way, because this way you can lunge them and ride them and stuff like that in a confined space while you're working with them. Granted, I'm going to get a horse that's already been broken and trained to some degree. Like before I buy it, I'm not going to buy like a fresh horse that has no training, because that would not be a good idea with my level of experience.
Be ready for some shirtless riding horse pics. You got to get a good hat too. You have to have a good cowboy hat.
Yeah, I don't have a good cowboy hat yet. I've got plenty of good shirts and old jeans and stuff that I just got to get some. Well, probably need to get some boots.
Got the flannel shirts. You ready?
I got flannel shirts and everything else. I got some jeans I wear. Got to get some boots, a good hat, and I'll be set.
Oh Lord, that's gonna be interesting.
That'll
be good. That'll be a good little addition.
In 2 years, I'll be like straight mountain man, the middle-aged cowboy.
That's right.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.